Hi everyone, I'm Tito Muñoz, Virginia G. Piper Music Director of the Phoenix Symphony. I am here today with violist and composer Nokuthula Ngwenyama.
Hello, Maestro. It's great to be here.
Thanks for being here. Nokuthula is the composer of Primal Message, featured in the Phoenix Symphony's performance of Turning Points. So let's get started on some questions. Nokuthula, you started your career as a violist. What was the transition into composing for you?
Well, I was always a composer, I think. Um, my first music lessons were actually wonderful and encouraged me to compose. I actually started on the piano with the Yamaha program, and we were taught to use these note magnets on the grand staff and to move them wherever we wanted, and then to play the notes so we could arrange them as we, I guess, heard fit. There wasn't actually a big transition, I guess, from the professional viola realm, let's say, to composing. It was just sitting down and doing it and feeling the need to do it, and then being called to do it by a professional commission from Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church here in town. They're my first professional commissioner, and then continuing from there.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, I think at some point we just have to work, right? We're just trying to figure out how to make a living and how to just get through the thing. But to actually have a chance to just sit down and say, no, this is what I want. This is what I like. This is what I want to do. I also think it's really cool that um, you were given the opportunity to create from the very beginning, which is not what a lot of classically trained young people are given. You usually are regimented with the notes and the pieces, and that's quite different for you than from others.
Yes, I was very fortunate to go through the Yamaha program with Miss Ann Patel, who's still teaching at the Cornerstone Music Studio in West LA. So I believe that everyone should feel empowered to create as they learn. And it is really hard to learn an instrument. I mean, there are only so many hours in the day, and just to kind of shred it and work it and make our bodies do what we want them to do to play is hard enough. But to know that we have the agency to create as well is really important, I think, for all musicians.
Shifting to the piece this week, what was your inspiration for Primal Message?
Primal Message was inspired by a New York Times Magazine article from June of 2016 written by Stephen Johnson entitled, "Greetings, E.T., Please Don't Murder Us." So I was thinking about writing a string quintet, a viola quintet for the Phoenix Chamber Music Society. I'm their composer in residence. And so I had the commission to write a string quintet, but I didn't know what I wanted it to be about. And I read this article, and it completely transported me into another way of thinking about how we communicate with music. So the article is about the Arecibo message, which was sent from Puerto Rico in 1974 to M13 globular cluster in the Hercules constellation 25,000 light years away. So it's in our galaxy. They're our neighbors. We're trying to send a message. And in the message, we send prime numbers. We send some other anthropomorphic information. We send a map where to find us here. It's basically a message in the bottle sent to the next a few star systems over. So I thought, well, this seems so cut and dry. Is there a way that we could communicate with ET so that we could somehow communicate not just our logical, mathematical sense, but somehow not just a math IQ, but an emotional IQ, so that we could extend our hands in greeting and somehow convey that this is a part of humanity too. And that was really the beginning of writing Primal Message, exploring prime number relationships, but also trying to convey a sense of openness and capacity to love and care for each other.
does that become kind of a moment where you're just really focused on just that one thing? I mean, were you writing other things at the same time, or could you write other things at the same time when you were in the middle of that?
I was not writing other things at the same time. I was completely consumed by it. And I tend to write one thing at a time, although this past year, because I had 3 commissions and 3 premieres, I had to write simultaneously different pieces. So then I just wanted to go into different styles. But Primal Message was all consuming. I wrote that piece alone.
What was the process like to transform it to an orchestral piece?
It was fun. The orchestra is the ultimate instrument. So I wanted to get into it, but I was actually struck and inspired by the orchestration of Bernstein's violin serenade that you did with Jenny Coe, and I came and listened to the rehearsal. And I remember the orchestration and the colors that Bernstein used, and the kind of the breadth of expression that one could get from strings and percussion.
As far as like your own works, I know sometimes, asking this question, it's always like, do you have a favorite child? Do you have a favorite piece that you've composed, or anything that you like more than anything else?
That's really hard. I don't, because I would hope that whatever I'm writing is in the moment my favorite.
Yeah, I'm the same. My answer is the same. It's always whatever I'm working on at the time, because it sort of has to be, I suppose. Do you have a favorite piece by any composer? Anything that like or maybe something that you remember when you were a kid that like really struck you as something, because I have a few like youth orchestra pieces that I definitely like have here, but I wonder if you have any like that.
Well, at the opening of the Mendelssohn Italian Symphony is really what got me hooked on being a musician, or knowing that I was a musician, because those sweeping strings and the staccato energy from the winds, and it's just brilliant writing. So I love Mendelssohn's writing. I love his orchestral writing. So that probably, being an early piece that I heard, would be one that always gets me. I also think Strauss's Death and Transfiguration is a masterwork, and that goes into the big orchestration and really addressing existential issues that we all face. I admire that work. Playing that work, being in the orchestra, playing any of these works is such an incredible experience. I would wish it for every person on earth, to be consumed by orchestral sound.
Yeah, to be sitting in the middle of all of that sound. Switching gears, born in LA, and now you're in Phoenix. How long have you been in Phoenix?
For almost 20 years. Basically, my adult life, I've been in Phoenix.
Do you have any favorite spots to eat? Any restaurants that you like?
There are so many great restaurants in Phoenix now. I enjoy going to La Sottise, which is new and in the neighborhood. The Farish House as well. I'm mostly downtown in the arts district, and I just think that Phoenix is so vibrant now. It's changed a lot.
Even since I've been here, I mean, this is nine years for me. It's not quite as long as you, but the downtown has changed quite a bit. And now it's because I live downtown, and it's very, very, very vibrant. Mm-hmm. And your cultural background, this is really interesting and fascinating. And I wonder, does that influence what you write? Does it influence, or do you ever use that as an influence for what you write?
Sometimes I do. I think it's always there, I guess, in the experiences that I've had and how I come into the score. But then there are other times where, in Primal Message, for example, there's a middle section where it's basically pentatonic. And so that is, in line with exploring a tonal system that consists of a prime number of tonalities, but that could also be seen as exploring my cultural background in the music too. I guess it comes through, but I'm not necessarily like trying to consciously think about it or not think about it.
I mean, I think that's with any composer. You usually hear, things whether they think it or not. Do you have a favorite part of your career?
I'm embracing the composing right now. I think that this is so just dynamic and interesting. Just knowing that with music, there's always something to learn, and that's what makes it so dynamic.
If you weren't playing the viola, if you weren't composing, what would you be doing?
I'm not sure. Probably writing, like words writing, either stories or finishing poetry. I've written poetry pretty much all my life. I think probably something creative, but just not music, although it's really hard to imagine it not being music.
That I can relate to very, very much. Well, Nokuthula, thank you so much. This has been really, really great to get to know you and hear from you. And for everybody tuning in, you can hear her piece Primal Message with the Phoenix Symphony and Xian Zhang conducting March 10th through 12th at Symphony Hall. Nokuthula, thank you.
Thank you so much.